We are continuing on in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Anonymous, we are on page 100. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. That's a great paragraph. Let's break it down a little bit. So I love how it says, both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. That's speaking to sponsorship. We walk with each other, and what we're walking in is spiritual progress. So we're always wanting to bring God into our conversations, not just our personal opinions. And then, of course, if you persist, remarkable things will happen. Since I have started walking by way of God and in love and light, amazing events have come to pass in my life and for those around me as I'm able to carry this message to other people. And, it's a pretty simple equation. The closer I keep God and the better I perform His work, the more amazing my life gets. And I'm not a stupid person, and so I figured out that equation, and I'm just going to keep doing it because it seems to bring me amazing things. We follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world. I used to live in the past, or I'd be like in a dreamland with some fantasy of the future, and I was never really in the present where my feet were. So I love how that paragraph is worded. Does anyone else want to add on that one? No mutes, unmutes, no hands? Alrighty. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do, but urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. For me, I haven't, in lots of instances, met most of the families of people that I've sponsored, but there are a couple that I've been able to become friends with them and their spouses, and been able to walk with them in this journey. I am, I guess, fortunate enough to have experience with both living with an alcoholic and being a recovered alcoholic. So I'm able to kind of weigh in on both sides myself a little bit. But, it's always good to refer a spouse to Al-Anon if you're not familiar, so they can get the tools they need to grow along this relationship. Anybody else want to add to that about the family? We're going to read more about it in the wives too, and the family afterwards.
I can add for myself. I haven't done a lot of sponsoring. I'm now 11 months sober. I do have alcoholism and addiction in my family. However, the ones that I don't want to point them out directly, but I've discussed my own sobriety journey with my family, and they're, they do drink wine and beer once in a while. They're kind of normies, but since they have heard that I'm almost a year sober, they've actually cut alcohol out themselves, so there's no longer alcohol at the house. I just feel that, I don't know, I never expected any changes in other people. I was really looking for the change in myself, but I can't say how happy I am to be able to discuss it with my family and to have them make changes as well. Yeah, that's all I wanted to add. Just, a little bit of having some family support around you is very important. My year is coming up, and although they're not on this journey with me, they are aware of some of the troubles and tribulations I've been through. So, although I wasn't inviting them to my 1 year cake, I was, my intention was to first bring my chip over there. So it's just kind of nice to be able to discuss it with my family and to have my family involved and to have them um, recognize it, and even if it's just little changes in their day-to-day life to support me is just a really wonderful feeling. Yeah, so I totally agree with this page when working with other people's families to include them in it. Because for the longest time when I tried to be in this program, it was always such a secret, so anonymous, and I didn't want anybody to know. And now that, some more people in my life do know about it, it's just been that much easier to be able to go out, anywhere in the day and just say, no, I'm not drinking, and then find out that they're not bringing alcohol now because they know that I don't want alcohol in my life. Yeah.
Thanks, Cheryl. And yeah, I like how it mentions that we're sick and we're getting well, because a lot of the times our families can think, we've had bad behavior or we're bad people, and we're not bad people trying to get good. We're good people or sick people trying to get well. We're all good people deep down inside. Angie. There you go.
Thanks so much. Is this coming from Vancouver?
Yeah, we're outside of Vancouver.
Oh, okay. I'm originally from Vancouver.
Oh, fantastic.
But I've been in the States for 39 years.
Wow.
And I've been in and out of AA for the last 8 years. And I'm still a Canadian citizen, and this worries me. I guess my topic is fear, actually, right now.
Okay, we're actually sharing on what we read on the page. This is the line by line, but we can do open sharing after. So we're on page 100, working with others.
Well, I just wanted to say that my family's always been very supportive, and my husband as well. He will not go to Al-Anon, and I've asked him several times. My sponsors asked him, but he refuses. But other than that, he's been very supportive, as well as my children. But of course, everyone's disappointed, including me.
Well, I am super happy you're here, and we're going to get more into it in the To the Wives and To the Families, which maybe if you stick around, will give you some good little tips on, little things you can say or how to help him, even without him going to Al-Anon. Because there's lots of tidbits in this book that even without going to Al-Anon, someone that's a partner can benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne.
Hey, can I share on this?
Yes.
Suzanne, alcohol. It's not been great with my family, and I've had women really support me and say, hey, pray for this person. Pray for this person. We have active alcoholism in my family. I had to go there in the fall, and I had to support someone in my family, and they're still drinking. It's hard on families. They would have preferred I'd been anything but an alcoholic. I could have been a bank robber. They would have preferred that. Because it was a shame secret in our family that my grandmother had that nobody talked about until I finally fell on my knees and said, I can't drink like a normal person. I don't know why I'm the only one in this family. And my daughter got me help because she was studying to be a nurse in her 3rd year. And now she's going into acute medicine. That's help. But they still felt guilty because they thought they made me alcoholic. And they didn't. I was born alcoholic. I have the total personality. So it's an ongoing work in progress, and we're just getting better and better, but it's hard. They don't get it. They won't get it. So we have to teach them. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. All right, I almost muted myself for some reason. Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape his alcohol problems. So for me, definitely my spiritual fitness, I've worked on really hard, and I'm able to walk freely. I'm able to go anywhere where anyone is, where there's alcohol served. I am not afraid of alcohol. People are aware that I am sober, but I don't make a big grandstand about it. I have gone dancing in the bar because I had a purpose to be there. A friend was celebrating. I've gone to weddings where alcohol was served. I have wine in my house. I host Christmas dinners where my eldest daughter, who is legal drinking age, drinks alcohol at the dinner table. So there's two things that the book kind of tells us that are big warning signs that you're not spiritually fit. One is if you're afraid of alcohol. If you're afraid of alcohol and you're afraid to go places like we just read, it's an indication that you may not be too spiritually fit and you may need to go and do some more work with your support team. The second one is cockiness. If you're too sure that you're okay, it's another big red flag. So if you're like, oh, I'm good, I can go places, that's kind of scary too. So one of those two instances is the key. I can remember the first time. It was after my second year cake, and I was with a new group of people from a new meeting, and we were downtown, and they have fireworks in the summer, and it was my 2-year anniversary date. And they said, well, let's all go to the fireworks. And we're like, okay. So we all walked down to the fireworks, and fireworks is the same weekend as the Pride celebrations. And so we were walking back up the street, and one of them said, let's go in the bar and dance. And it was that moment where I actually remember pausing and looking around the group of people and doing a quick okay, I'm okay. These people seem okay. Okay, we can go. But it was that we were going for a purpose. We just wanted to dance and have a little fun on a 2-year celebration. But we did a moment where we're like, okay, is everybody good? We're good. Okay, let's go. And that's very important. So we meet these conditions every day. If you cannot meet them, you still have an alcoholic mind. So back to the book you go. Della had her hand up first. Whoops, sorry, Della.
That's okay. Hi, ladies. Still an alcoholic. Okay, I'm being torn with this one. I feel that my spiritual connection has grown like tenfold, and I don't feel scared of alcohol, but at the same time I feel like I've made decisions that are going to support my recovery not to go places. Should I be questioning my spiritual fitness, or is that still just important that I need to realize that?
No, there's different situations. Like Joanne says, oh, what do you say, Joanne? I'm a woman of... Oh, you're not unmuted. I tried. It didn't work.
A woman of dignity and honor.
Right. So I am a woman of dignity and honor, and I am a role model to the people that I support in AA. So I'm not going to be going to places that might be put me in question. I'm not going to this seedy dive bar in the wrong area of town, sitting in the front row of the strippers on Friday night, because I'm a woman with dignity and honor. So I make choices based on that, right? Not that I'm worried about my perception, but I'm a woman of upstanding society now. I'm not going to be going to places where my character could be questioned. Just as though I don't like to hang out with certain people anymore because it's not attractive. I went to a wedding I was actually shocked I was invited to, and I stayed until the point where I'm like, this isn't my scene anymore. I made my appearance. It's taking a turn in which I don't want to be associated with, and seeing people that badly mangled isn't attractive for me to see. And I just say, thank you so much for inviting me to your wedding. It was so lovely. It's time for me to go. I don't say, yeah, y'all are getting drunk. I got to get out of here because I'm sober. You know, I can handle myself with class in situations. There's other friends that I don't see after 5 p.m. because I know how they're like after 5 p.m. So those are the friends that I'll have brunch with on Saturdays, because usually they're going to cancel on me anyways because they're drunk from Friday night still. But, you know, you get to know the ebb and flow. But I'm not afraid to go where alcohol is. I just make choices and I'm like, that's not attractive to me. I don't want to go there. Anne-Marie.
Hello. I'm Anne-Marie. I'm an alcoholic. I don't have wine. I'm a wine drinker in my home on principle, very basically, okay? And it's my home, so I set the rules. I go elsewhere, it's their rules. I have no problem with that. On the other hand, I had to walk out of a family reunion. I was maybe 5 or 6 years sober. We're Italian, and there were dozens of wine bottles on the table, and everything had been cooked with wine, and I couldn't stand the smell. I could not believe that I used to drink something that smelled that bad. So in that kind of situation, I'm like you. I make an act of presence, and then I leave, because it is not fun. You know, it really is not fun. I had a sit-down dinner with just 2 younger brothers and my sister, and my sister barely drinks. She's the kind of annoying person who can stretch a scotch over 2 evenings, and I don't know how she does it. But the 2 brothers, not only did they get a little sloshed, but they roll back the years when they do this. They're talking about the same things they talked about 40 years ago. I've moved on, you know? So, I don't know. I don't go places where there's liquor unless there's another reason for me to be there. I've had dinner in bars, but I sit at the tables, not the bar, you know? And I won't have it in my house. That's my own rule. That's it.
Right. The best, I'm Italian too, and everything has booze. Absolutely. I know a girl that makes non-alcoholic tiramisu, and we're good. But even church, got to make sure they're not giving out free samples. Got to go to those churches that don't give out free samples, because that could trigger you. You don't know, right? Like, ask, is this grape juice or is this wine when you're doing your communion? If you are so inclined to go to those type of events, because, there's churches that give out free samples. Lee, did you have your physical hand up? Yeah, I thought so.
Physical hand, yeah. Hi, I'm Lee and I'm an alcoholic. Thank you very much for this meeting. It's great. I was reminded of something that happened to me in my middle of my sobriety, I'll call it. I was driving with my father and I said to him, I don't drink. And he said, you do drink. And I said, no, I don't drink. And he said, no, you don't drink alcohol. You do drink. And it was a freedom to feel that word, that whole phrase there. And I've stuck with that one for a long time. So when it comes to people and these kind of situations, social situations that I might be in, that alcohol probably is going to be there, I feel very comfortable in just telling people I don't drink alcohol. And that's changed through the years, people's responses to that, such as, oh, come on, you could have a drink, you know, that kind of mentality that's wanting me or everybody to be drinking, down to, is there anything special I should do in order to have in the place. And I'm like, I really appreciate somebody asking me the question if something is going to bother me. I really appreciate the question, but for generally, I am totally free of alcohol, other than what I think Marianne said. No, Anne-Marie, sorry, about the smell. Sometimes I would really rather not have red wine around me because it smells bad.
Yeah.
So I think that as the alcoholic, I appreciate some things about it, and I appreciate somebody's concern about it, but I've certainly gotten used to saying the word, I don't drink alcohol anymore. And if they want to pursue that, I have a lot more than anymore, because I did a lot of drinking of alcohol.
Exactly.
And I'm done.
And sometimes, depending on your age group and how new you are to recovery, they just assume you're pregnant. I've had that happen too. Joanne?
I'm Joanna. I'm an alcoholic addict, and I've come from desperation to fear to respect with alcoholism. In early recovery, I was fragile. I was just fragile. And I had seen the destruction of what alcohol had done to me. And I was still working on getting a power that was stronger than alcohol. So I stuck around and I got time. And then I have a healthy fear of it, because I've seen what it can do to me. I can see what it does to other people. And today, it doesn't call to me, but I respect it in the sense that I know that I have to be honest with myself when I make choices in my life. And part of that is respecting what alcohol can do to me. So there are things that I do, like when I go into a restaurant and I order something, I make sure that there's no alcohol in it. Okay. My husband and I were in the Bahamas, and we had his dessert, and my husband took a bite of it first, and he was like, "Oh my God, there's booze in this," and we just called, the waitress over. And I've been in situations where I just said, "Please tell me which ones don't have alcohol, because I have an allergy and I would hate to have an anaphylactic reaction in your place and sue you. So please tell me." I have a respect for it, and I also have to respect myself in the fact that I am, every day, I acknowledge I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict and I'm powerless over alcohol, and that I have to be honest with myself. There was an old timer I remember asking, "How do you make decisions in sobriety?" He says, "You just ask yourself two questions. Will this jeopardize my sobriety? And how much do you value it?" And sometimes it's like, yeah, going out, yeah, maybe not tonight, maybe tomorrow night, but not tonight. But that comes with working honesty and trusting in that power that is greater than the booze. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. And it's worth to mention, while we're on the topic of food, food can be a hidden source of alcohol, a lot. Desserts especially. You would be surprised at how many desserts and the little swirly things that they do have some sort of alcohol in it. I might as well talk about those mistakes that people make by accident. There's always, like you see in the Facebook groups, people post their opinion or their question on it. If you're eating a fermented fruit, or we talked about kombucha or tiramisu, if you're intentionally eating it and you know it's in there, that's something that you got to look at. But if it's a mistake where I was served something by accident and I took a sip and I'm like, whoa, that's not mine, and you send it back, that's not a problem. You still should talk to somebody about it just to get it off your chest and write yourself back with God. But hidden alcohol and the chocolates at Christmas, don't be snacking on those. Just that little bit. It's a slippery slope, not worth it. But to each their own. Just warning you, food is a hidden source. Grace, you were unmuted. It worked that time. There you go. You're good.
There you go. Thank everybody for your input. I'm around the program. I'm in my fourth decade in this program, and I have to say, I like the word that Joanne used, respect. I have to really have respect for the power of this disease and for what alcohol could do to me. And I'm not afraid to go to places now, you know. I think one of the things I remember, we had a reunion of a whole group of friends. We went to a girls' high school, and we were going to have a birthday cruise. We all went on a cruise to the Bahamas um, when we were 65, and we had a ball. But I knew that doing that with nobody knowing was not a good thing. I was totally out of my environment. I was totally with a group that, you know, they were out to party. They were going on a boat, you know, a ship, and it was going to be party time. So what I did was the girl that I was rooming with, who was a really long time friend of mine from childhood, I told her. And she said to me, well, am I supposed to do something with that? And I said, I need to know somebody knows. I don't know what it is, but it made me so much more comfortable that I knew somebody knew. Because otherwise, I could have done whatever I wanted and nobody ever would have known and I would have gone home. That's the kind of crazy stuff starts playing in my mind. So I made sure I had at least one person, and she didn't have to do a thing. It was like for my own mental ability to deal with it. And I had a wonderful time, and it never was an issue. And I was so glad I went. As far as alcohol in the home, I have a house at the beach. And when I drank, it was such a habit. I mean, when I came back from that beach, it was cocktail time. And it was really hard to break myself of that habit. You know, you come home, everybody's got their flags up to talk about it being, cocktail hour. My children were younger, and I just eliminated alcohol from the house. My husband didn't seem to mind. He's not alcoholic, and you know, it just was so much more comfortable. You know, I tried to get a completely different routine. Well, now my children are grown with their own families, and the house at the shore, it's my house, and a couple of times they asked me, could we have friends over and have alcohol? And I said, yes, you can have alcohol, you know, you can have wine with your dinner or whatever, you know, the young people like to have a few beers before dinner. And I said, okay. But I became very uncomfortable because they continued to drink for the rest of the night. You know, they opened the second or the third bottle of wine. And I just wasn't comfortable with it because I really was uncomfortable watching one member of my family particularly who was getting cross-eyed, you know. You could see it in her eyes, and I just don't want to be around it, and I don't have to be. It's my house. So it's been a no-no for most of the time. I know that one of them sneaks it into their room, and I let it be because I feel that that person is starting to have a problem with this with alcohol, and I don't want to stop her from learning about it. So I let it be as if I don't notice it, but I notice it. And you know, it's kind of worked out. Sometimes they come and we have an area under the house because we had to lift, you know, after that big storm here. And so we have an area that you can sit in the shade under the house. And sometimes they have a cooler under there because I'm up making dinner. I don't go to any extent to go down and, you know, be the cop. But I'm comfortable with it, with them knowing it's just not an open drinking place like young people would like a house to be. And so there's other than that, there's just no place else. And I have some family members who are in recovery, one particular, and it's wonderful to be around them, and I enjoy that. But I don't hesitate when I have friends that are not in recovery. I have them for dinner, And it would be way too awkward not to offer them something to drink with their dinner if that's what they used to doing. So I do, and I'm not a bit uncomfortable with that. I don't have to be the person, pouring the wine. I'm making dinner, and my husband or one of the other guests can do that, so that's not a problem. But I like the word respect, and I have to know my own limitations. Anything I, would have to do that would jeopardize me. Weddings are fine. I don't have any trouble with that. I know I can leave anytime I want to. So, I just watch for those situations to know I always have an out. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks so much, Grace. And your share made me think of something that I don't think we've brought up in working with others is letting someone know where you are. Also, if you're going on a 12-step call where the person you're going to see is actively drinking or using, make sure you bring a buddy or have someone that knows where you're going. You should always go in twos. If I'm going to call on someone that I've never met before, I always call someone to come with me. And if I can't, I call my girl Helen and I'm like, hey Helen, I'm going to meet this new girl in Langley. I'm just pulling up at her house. This is the address. I'm going to text you within 5 minutes to let you know that I've assessed the situation and it's all good. And then I make sure to message her after I've assessed the situation. I'm like, yeah, I'm here. It's all cool. This girl's cool. We're good. I'll be done by this time. If I don't message you, you've got the address. That's worst case scenario, but it's always good to go with a friend when calling on someone that is in active alcoholism for two reasons: safety, and number two minds are better than one. They might have an experience that you don't have that person needs to hear. So buddy system, it works in all areas of life, that buddy system. Okay, we're just going to do a couple more on this bit, and then we're going to try to finish this chapter today. Let's go to which iPhone has their hand up? Trish! Hello!
Hi there, I'm Trish. I'm an alcoholic, and I just, it's kind of a good time to be up in this program at an early time in my sobriety, like 2 years coming up, and because of all the bars being shut down and everything's better outside because you can walk around, and if you want to just walk around with a ginger ale, it makes it a lot better. Not that I've done it, but I always pack ginger ale with me. There's one kind that looks like a bottle of beer, and people, even in my drinking days, you say, are you drinking beer? And no, it was ginger ale. It's just hardcore ginger ale. But I was just going to tell about my experience. A couple of months ago, I went in for a procedure in a hospital, and all the sanitizers and the hand cleaners and masks on, and smells of a hospital. Whew, I was kind of getting high from all the alcohol in all the stuff they were doing. I was going, holy cow, I haven't touched a drop for 2 years. And it was kind of a weird feeling. I wasn't afraid or anything because rubbing alcohol is rubbing alcohol. But the other kind of alcohol, I don't mind being around at all. But I don't go to places, dances, nightclubs, and all that stuff anymore. Yeah, but one day if there's a wedding or something, it really doesn't bother me. My dad was in the program for 50 years, and everybody around him in the cowboy world was always drinking beer, and it never bothered him at all. And he was, that's just how I feel. And my dog, people worry about me more than I worry about myself. Oh, are you coming over? Okay, well, I'll put you don't have to put anything away. Just, it's all about me. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, Trish. Yeah, to be said about that hand sanitizer right now, that one's a big one for me. Like, the hand sanitizer in a lot of places right now smells like straight cheap tequila. And so like I've talked to my gym manager, and I'm just like, hey, I can't use your hand sanitizer. I'm going to just be the one who washes her hands. And I just make sure I go to the bathroom a couple times and wash my hands with soap and water. Because literally I would leave the gym and I would smell like I had poured a bottle of tequila on myself. That hand sanitizer right now is super, super strong, and it's being distilled a lot of the times by breweries that aren't producing. So, you can wash your hands with soap and water for a good 30 seconds and not need to use hand sanitizer every 5 minutes. And same thing, like Joanne says, I have an allergy to alcohol. You can say that to wherever you're going and say, you know what, I have an allergy to alcohol. I have my own hand sanitizer that doesn't smell like tequila, or I'm choosing to wash my hands frequently. Thank you. And most people helps. All right, let's finish up. Val, last one on this, and then just so that we can bide the time. Val?
Hi. Hi, Val, alcoholic from Vancouver. I am a dancer. Whoop, whoop. But I tell you, when I first came into the program, I thought, this is going to be boring. And then there was some kind of sober dance. And I was doing some killer dancing with this guy. I thought it's going to be okay. So there's lots of sober dance. But when I first came to Vancouver in 89, I had like 2 years sobriety. And I found a meeting, and my buddy and I, you got to have a buddy, we'd go dancing after the meeting. And then I saw all these sober women at the meeting. I mean, at the club. But honestly, this is just me, and I've got 30 plus years. I wouldn't be going near a bar for a couple years. And for me, it's not any, it's just, the drink is just this far away. That's it. And it can be in a gift shop. I was at a gift shop once in Stevenson, and they had like apple cider and the mulled spices for sale. And the sample had booze in it. It was like, fuck, little, hot cider and the mulled spices. And I walked away, and I thought, whoa, I feel kind of weird. And I gave them heck, So you have to be so careful. But the buddy system, and personally, I think it's not about the spiritual fitness for me. It's because please respect that. Don't feel bad because you can't go in a bar after a year of sobriety. Many people go out after a year. So just steer clear of those. And when the time comes, I'm all good with it, And the whole thing, everybody said, allergy, whatever, So just stick with that and just steer clear of that. I don't have any booze in my house. And I don't refuse anybody coming in, but many of my friends are sober. But if someone came visiting and they had a little something, but, the same with the red wine, But anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, even just going to the bar, I think I've done it 3, maybe 4 times in my almost 4 years of sobriety. And you just get it's fun. You dance for a good 2 hours, but I leave so early, because you just look around, and I'm always like, number one, ooh, did I used to look like that? I'm like, yeah, I did. Fuck.
Sad.
It is.
So cool, and you're like, you look good. It's like.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, just looking sometimes I look around and I'm like, oh yeah, whoopsies. All right, we'll keep reading and we can continue on sharing afterwards. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, and even plain ordinary whoopee parties. It is still my goal in sobriety to throw a whoopee party for some reason. I've tried researching it, and it doesn't sound like what I think it is. Anyways, to a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. You will note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places? If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need have no apprehension. Go or stay away, whichever seems best. But be sure you are on solid spiritual ground before you start, and that your motive in going is thoroughly good. Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion, but think of what you can bring to it. But if you are shaky, you had better work with another alcoholic instead. There's that great advice again. Work with another alcoholic when to yield would mean heartache or disaster. But yes, if we have a legitimate reason for being there and we are spiritually fit, again, there should be no problem. Why sit with a long face in places where there is drinking, sighing about the good old days? If it is a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you are with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means go along. Let your friends know they are not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain to all of your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. A little note on that. If you hung out with alcoholics like I hung out with alcoholics, you tend, once you get sober, to stray away from that crowd and you make a new set of friends. The people that I used to, I don't have anything in common with them anymore. Like Anne-Marie said, their conversations seem to be stuck on repeat from 1985. And I don't live there anymore. And so, you're not withdrawing from those people. You've evolved from those people. And that's okay. There's a big difference between withdrawing from people and evolving from people. And you just naturally find that you've got a new social circle within the fellowship, and it expands, and then you meet even more people. And because you're actually more honest and open and more approachable, you tend to make more friends in all aspects of your life. No one used to want to hang out with me because I had a bad attitude, and now I don't have a bad attitude, and it seems I attract more people. Val, I saw your hand go up. I saw you.
Well, I know it's like once I was going to just write about it. My nephew came home from detoxing, and then he'd gone to rehab. My niece forgot and left 2 beers in the fridge. He drank them, and he's on his way again. You know. Anyway, so I'm going to track down an Al-Anon meeting and go with my niece. She's housing him, and it's a nightmare. So
Perfect.
I decided I would write, but no.
Oh, well, we got it out. It probably helped somebody. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
Somebody might have needed to hear it. Kelly D.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelly. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you, Kim, for service today. Thank you, everybody, for being on the meeting. With this stuff, it's really interesting. It's such a spot check inventory. Like, if I'm not spiritually fit to go someplace, like, I really need to, look inward and say, okay, did you sleep? I have 2 little boys, so, sleep is big for me. Like, I halt. It's almost like halted. Don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and emotionally disturbed. I should just halt it. I changed it. So I'm a giving tree most of the time. So if I'm not spiritually fit to be around my family or go to a place, I really need to look at myself and say, okay, what do I need to do to get spiritually fit or not? And usually when I go to functions, I always hang with the children. Like, going with kids, is just amazing. Whether it's weddings, whether it's parties, there's always kids there that are unattended. Usually when people are in their cups or drinking or in and out of the bathroom, you know what they're doing in there. Usually they're not really paying attention to their kids. And I just love children. Sometimes I don't love my own at times, but I do love children. But it is just such a spot check inventory. My sponsor taught me, practice these principles in all our affairs. And if you can't practice these principles, then guess what? You need to change your affairs and just go where it's warm and go where you feel safe. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Anybody else on social life and friendship? Catherine.
Hey everybody, my name is Catherine. I'm an alcoholic. I just wanted to throw in a couple quick things. Okay, so for me, I had someone else, an elder in the program, tell me that no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
That so I went to a work event, my first early in sobriety. It was it was a celebration. We were being rewarded. So it was at a bar that it's really cool. It has lots of arcade games. So it's like arcade games, and then there's a bar and food. So we did eat food, but as an employee, we were allowed to drink if we wanted to. So my first year, I was brand new in the program. I sat at a table sort of by myself, and I stayed on the phone, not the whole time, but I called my sponsor, and I talked to her, and that really helped me get through the event flawlessly. The second year, we were able to go, same thing. Hey, don't you want to drink? No, period. I don't believe, for me, Catherine, I don't believe in going into I have an allergy, or no, I used to, or no, I don't like. I just say no because I don't owe an explanation to anyone. I mean, I did that my whole life, explained things, and now I feel like, no, I don't, period, and that's it. And so the second year when we went, didn't even have the challenge, and actually one of my associates ended up joining the program, so we just stuck together and hung out the whole time. So yeah, it's possible. That's all. Just no is a complete sentence, peeps.
And speaking to that business stuff, like lots of business gets done with booze. Booze and business go really well together for some reason. And I remember my first conference where we would travel, and these are big, huge conferences, and everybody gets loaded all the time. And so my first conference sober, I was standing in the drink lineup, and I just asked the gentleman that was the bartender when it was my turn. I'm like, oh, do you have any Perrier or sparkling water? And I heard this whisper in my ear, how long have you been sober? And I turned around, and it was the senior vice president of sales. And I was like, oh, I'm busted. And he's like, I've been 7 years just for today. And I was like, oh, wow. And then he came and sat at my table and asked me about my journey. I think I was like just past my first year. It actually got me some really good connections higher up that weekend. But yeah, it was just really neat that he was just like, how long have you been sober? And I thought I was exposed. That was it. And then I was speaking at a business function, and I was meant to say, my name is Kimberly Masters, and I am a such and such, my title. And instead I said, my name is Kimberly, and I'm an alcoholic. And the whole room went quiet. And I was like, wrong room. And then that actually helped someone that day, where someone came and talked to me from the back of the room and said, oh my gosh, that was the funniest slip. She goes, I'm new back. I think she was 30 days sober, and I'm still in touch with that woman. So these things, I've had all the weirdest things happen to me. All right. Your job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they are not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. We feel that each family, in the light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. We are careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Experience shows that such an attitude is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for the spirit among us and is immensely relieved when he finds we are not witch burners. A spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could have been saved had it not been for such stupidity. We would not even do the cause of the temperate drinker any good, for not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by one who hates it. Someday, we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem, but we shall be of little use if our attitude is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. After all, our problems were of our own making. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we have stopped fighting anybody or anything. We have to. So I have that paragraph highlighted and underlined and starred and arrows beside it that says, our job is to now be at a place where you can be of maximum helpfulness to others. Never hesitate to go anywhere you can be helpful. That's my motto in life. My purpose in life is to be helpful to others, regardless of whether they're in the rooms or not. With that last paragraph, that someday we hope Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem. That's my mission, to end the stigma associated with alcoholism and recovery. That's my mission statement in my company. That's my life purpose and my mission statement, is to help those suffering and to end the stigma to those who are afflicted by what we caused. And by that, I wear my recovery on my sleeve. I don't wear a badge that says I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, but I wear my recovery on my sleeve so that people know that I'm a place that they can come if they or their loved ones are struggling. And that's so important. And it has enriched my life so, so much. And I think all of you know that about me. Marianne.
Hi, Marianne, alcoholic. Right here where it says many of us keep liquor in our homes. Well, I do not, but that's for me, and nobody around me drinks, even my daughter's friends. But it says we often need to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. There are times where I have gone on 12-step calls where, we have brought some liquor with us because the person was so shaky and sick, so that we could gave them a drink and brought them to the hospital. And that's what they used to do years and years and years ago in the beginning of our, when our founders started. So that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you. And in speaking of that, back when this book was written, detox was done in homes. So you'd bring your prospect to your home and you would detox the prospect in your living room, on your couch, or what have you. We have detox centers now. We have lots of resources available. And usually if you're going to visit a recruit, they usually have booze in their house. So you don't really need to bring it along. I have a bottle of wine that's in the cupboard that was the free gift with my hotel room. And we are gifting it to Tony's wife. And we just haven't brought it over there yet. But normally, I wouldn't normally have alcohol in my home. I have 1 bottles of wine. I don't know if I've told you this story. And they were like, well, but it's organic. And I was like, I still don't drink organic wine. I'm allergic to alcohol. So, it is to each their own. I also know of guys that have step groups at their house still to this day in Vancouver. And they allow people to try controlled drinking on their dining room table. If you think you're non-alcoholic, take 1 shot, sit through this meeting without taking another. That's not my cup of tea at all. It's to each their own. But I don't bring alcohol if I'm going on a 12-step call. They usually have got tons in their own house. And usually if we're calling, either the paramedics to transport them or to taking them to a detox, I'm not going to give them anything more. Especially if you call the hospital, they actually advise you not to give anything by mouth once they're on their way. So I have also heard stories of people who keep sedatives and administer them themselves because that's what they do. Do not do that, especially ever. Leave that stuff to the professionals. All I know how to do is read a book and talk about God. That's the extent of my abilities. You know, what if one more shot puts them into alcohol poisoning? I'm not taking that on my shoulders. To each their own. But you know what? Get them to the hospital if they're that bad, and they'll deal with them there. That's, you know, there's lots of resources nowadays. And if they don't like it, well, maybe they're not ready to stop. They're just looking for somebody to sit in their misery with them. Anybody else? Chit-chat?
I'll talk.
Yes,
Suzanne's still an
Suzanne.
alcoholic. Oh my God. I knew what to do. I knew I was an alcoholic, but I wasn't going to bail until the last drink was poured. And I knew I get the pharmacy to renew the prescriptions because I knew what I was supposed to take. Gabapentin, and I for another PAM, something ending in PAM, and I would try. I couldn't do it. And so went to AA, and then with the doctor, I was able to do it. Made every mistake with friends that you can possibly make. So in 2 years, I learned from those mistakes by really screwing up. So rosé, friends drank rosé in front of me we have a timeshare in Baker, and I dreamed about rosé for the whole year. Symbolically, at the end of the year, a parent gave me a rosé. I gave it to a friend. Rosé was no longer in my life, but it was a mistake. And when they went to the pub, I said, I'm not going with you because I don't want to watch you get drunk. Thank you. And those people are not in my life, but they'll come back in my life when they need my help. So I make sure they know I'm a success, I'm sober, and I'm here to help. That's it.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, those pill combinations, you know that they give you what they give you every time you go to the hospital. They're like, I know what to do. I just need a Valium and a gabapentin. And you're like, yeah, okay, you just need to go to the detox center. Let's try again. I remember when my partner went to detox that morning, I was so disgusted with everything. I was done. That was it. I was done that morning, and I dumped he's drinking as much as he could as the van was coming to pick him up to go to treatment. He's just like, I'm going to finish this all off before I go to treatment. I'm like, that's enough for me. And then I have a story. My first husband's best friend was work ordered to treatment, and he showed up to treatment. No shit of a lie. He showed up to treatment with a case of beer. And he said, no, I'm not here for the booze. I'm only here for the Coke. And they're like, oh, no, you're giving it all up here. And he's like, I'm out of here. And he left. He is still suffering to this day. But yeah, he thought, no, I'm here for the drugs, not the booze. The booze is not my problem. And the rehab was like, nobody, that's not how it works. All right, let's finish this off. We've finished the chapter working with others. Next time we're going to move on to the wives.